Hey, Keith Lockhart here. So I got some inbound messaging around the quote, "we had no idea," end quote, concept, which is not uncommon when we release new stuff, or sometimes you haven't seen older stuff, or sometimes just didn't know something did something. We got a lot of things, a lot of buttons, bells, tools, and whistles. So this concept was relative to our KeyScout tool. Well, when something like that happens, things like this happen. Here's a video on some of the killer KeyScout features. So I think this is tagged somewhere as like a how-to video, but the reality is it's a what's cool, how to do those cool things, and why you might want to experience. So as I learned from the Minecraft movie this summer with my son, first we mine, then we craft. Let's start with, how do we actually use KeyScout? So I want to look at the launcher in Detective, because we've got a couple options right out of the gate. But what you can see on the screen right now is the end game that we want to get to. Maybe not all the way to the end, because this transfer out of the KeyScout collection to importing into Detective is underway. It's complete here. It took a minute because I literally used one of our out of the gate options here to acquire data, target collect data, with a custom profile against a live drive, meaning I started Detective, just pointed at the drive it's running on, and ran KeyScout against it with a profile that got 129 out of 129 application and artifact sections checked, gathered 24 passwords and 2 tokens, an iTunes backup it found, and decrypted 3 out of the 9 encrypted data stores it found on this drive. That is evil. Well, that is powerful. Use your powers for good, as I always say, not evil. That's powerful stuff. So let's look here. I'm just going to minimize this KeyScout and come up here to the extraction section where we have Oxygen Forensic KeyScout, add it to removable media, or acquire an external drive. Now, I'm just going to do this one, add to removable media. So it comes to a menu to navigate to a drive where it wants to put the executable for KeyScout, which means you can take it with you, run it somewhere else and collect data, and then bring it back to your lab to process it. So I want to show you 2 things. One, this thing. So here's a OTG on-the-go device that I've got a million of them. I just went out to Amazon to find one. And this is a transportation medium. It's not a storage device. It allows you to, say, stick an SD card in here of a variation of sizes, and then hook up to a computer or USB-C. Now, sometimes you'll find them with a little flip-up thing here, so you can do micro USB as well. I mean, this is great. So here I am at the concert. I'm taking all these videos, and my phone's out of storage. Well, hey, I'll just pop my OTG device into my phone, transfer all the videos off the phone onto the on-the-go device, and I'm back in business filming videos, right? So terrific. So you get one of these, you throw an SD card in it, and then you come back to Detective, where you're saying, hey, I want to put KeyScout out there, and you navigate to the OTG device and put the executable on there. Now, let's look real quick at executable options, because I want to show you, not that drive, this drive, program files, Detective. In the KeyScout folder, look at this. There's a Linux version of KeyScout. There's a Mac version of KeyScout. And there's a Windows version of KeyScout, 32-bit, 64-bit, ARM processors, whatever. But we get all 3 flavors, right? Whichever machine we're after, because we can get artifacts from all of those environments. So you throw an executable on the OTG device, off you go with a new Ninja tool. Okay, so I'll just minimize this out of the way and come back to Detective, because our other option is acquire a drive. So let me click that one. Now, when you run KeyScout, I just got to tell you this, that it is a multi-threaded world here, because I've got a new KeyScout running here with the old KeyScout, oops, that's a map, with the old KeyScout also running right there. So just mental notes on that. If you happen to have a lot of drives that hook up to a machine and a lot of KeyScouts to run to acquire data from them independently, but concurrently, right? So I'll just minimize this one, and we'll start new. Remember, this is our end goal, finding a bunch of stuff. So I'll go here. Option number 1, run it against a live drive. So that's what I did here. I just ran it from the drive that Detective is installed to, ran KeyScout right out of the home screen, and just acquired from the drive that it's sitting on. Not the most prolific use case out there. It's kind of crazy. But if you take it with you and plug it into another machine and run it live against that live drive, the power becomes this. You can do a new search against a live system. We'll come back to images and drives in a second. A live system, and use profiles. Now this is the strength, not the total key to the kingdom, but one of the keys to the kingdom, and I'll talk more about that later. But this is the meat and potatoes where the rubber meets the road. Pick your analogy. Okay, we include several default profiles. Applications, system artifacts, passwords, and tokens at their default locations. Right? All files, applications, might as well get a disk image and memory. Holy crime, that's another option. We're not even there yet. System artifacts, passwords, tokens by all paths, not the default ones. Just memory, all files by all paths, or all documents and images from user stuff only. And that's all fantastic. We can go back and look at those later. Let's do the create. Actually, before we do it, here's a live drive. Which partition or physical drive do we want? I've got 1, 2, 3 physical drives attached to this machine. Each of them have their logical partitions set up. This one's BitLockered, so it can't get that one unless I know the password. And this is a GPT that's not going to come out of this collection. So I can pick whatever I want, but I'm not worried about that now. I'm worried about a profile creation. So I'm going to click that, and let's explore. So I have all these tabs of all these different things I can elect to collect in a targeted fashion. So in general, look, do I want hibernation file information from the machine? You know, kind of tied in with RAM and coinciding things like that. Do I want swap file information? Those are tick box choices. Additionally, do I want to determine files found by their content? Looking at file header information for prefetch and things like that. Reading the content significantly increases the search time, but you know, gets more accurate information as a result. And then I come over here to the search routes. Where do I want KeyScout to look? I can force it through individual paths. And I can do that to a specific depth. Like go to the user folder, the machine name, the downloads folder, and 4 folders deep from there. Or users, and I can use an operator or a variable, the asterisk symbol at this point, and get everybody's profile with their downloads folder. Right? Things that I force the tool to look in. Or I can say, do not go to these locations. Exclude these things. Don't waste your time. Right? There's a default set of them for Windows. There's a default set of them for Linux and Mac. I mean, for Pete's sake, right? I don't want to go in the windows.old folder if I installed and upgraded from Windows 10 to Windows 11. I don't care about operating system data. Or I might, right? You can modify these. But this is a great way when you're targeting to say, go look here. I don't care if you look anywhere else, but be sure to go here. And don't look here. Don't waste your time, for sure. And you can modify these however you want. Passwords. Listen, if you know you're going to collect protected data from a machine like that BitLocker drive, or maybe a password store application that, you know, 1Password locks everything else up like that. If you know some of those and you have the master passwords, you can put them in here. And when KeyScout comes across those, it will attempt to use these passwords to open those lock boxes to collect more data. Very cool, very cool. That's why you saw in that other one, I had 3 of the 9 things decrypted because I supplied a password, and it was able to use it against some of the Windows DPAPI materials. So that's fantastic. Files. So sitting here by itself, it looks blank and really not a lot of fun. However, if I add a rule, or a hash set, by the way, if I add a rule, I can come in here and say, okay, for the first rule in this profile, I want to detect a full match where the file name contains, you know, keys. And fantastic. Let me add another rule. For this rule, I want a partial match where the file content has the text string dog in, you know, UTF-8 character set. And for the next rule, I want to say I want a full match for files that were created from July 16th to today. Let's go back to July 1st. And today. And then I can add another rule. So what I'm building is a big, and this one's telling me, hey, listen, you have, the stated condition may be mutually exclusive. Yeah, so I'm saying get a full match, but I'm giving it a range. So I can do partial there and fix that. But I'm creating a big file filter manager for my old school Access Data life. I'm telling my profile to go after all these different things by different criteria. So not only can I modify the paths where I want it to look specifically or not, I can supply some ammunition with passwords to break things open, and I can go get specific files based on these rules I create. So another one, I'll just throw one more in here. I want a full match for file content that, no, I lied, not file content, file signature, that is documents that are just PowerPoints, considered a document at that point. So just get me things that are PPTs or PPTXs by file content. I mean, super powerful stuff right there. So, and then of course the hash set manager, if you're used to working with hash sets in Detective, you come right back to your manager and use a hash set and find the things that are matched by hash. I mean, right down to the nitty gritty at that point. Okay, so applications, oh my gosh, and I thought our profile was creative already. Go here and check this out. So I can just sort by the platform here. Here's everything Mac, here's everything Windows, here's everything Windows and Linux, here's everything Windows and Mac, and here's everything on all three. Look at all these applications you can elect to gather data from. That is incredibly powerful stuff, right? But when we're talking PC information here, right? I'm going after, I'm sitting down at a computer, I'm plugging in my OTG device, I'm launching the executable because I don't need a license. I can collect all day long. I can walk into a library, plug a USB device into every one of those machines, run a triage profile to find out which machines I really want in the end, and go to town. You know, only when I bring it back to the lab to parse it and process it do I need a detective license at that point. But I can select all these applications or not, right? Obviously be judicious. You know, this is why the checkboxes are here. But man, that is super powerful to go after application-specific data. And then it gets even crazier, the system artifacts. Hey, listen, which platform am I talking about? Linux, Windows, and Mac again. And if I just look down here, oh my gosh, I would immediately come down and get everything in the recycle bin, all the recent files, probably the USB store information to see what USB devices have been hooked on. There's shellbags to find out what's been opened. I mean, if you're into file system artifacts and you want to add those on top of your targeted collected application artifacts, on top of your file-specific filter rules, on top of the specific locations you want to look only, I mean, we are talking serious power filtering down to what we want. And finally, I can come over to the memory tab and go grab things out of memory. If not all memory, I can grab an entire memory extraction. But if not that, I can go in there and look for BitLocker key information. File handles, look, processes that are running. I mean, I'm not talking crazy live incident response and remediation, but I can go get the process list from memory like I would do with other tools and process them and parse them in Detective. Decrypt keys, oh my gosh. So you can put all these things together and save them as a profile. The Rule 5 search is not set. Okay, we'll get rid of Rule 5. We'll save that as a new profile. And you know what? I don't like that. Let's call it cool new profile to be succinct. And let me just see, what did I made some definite rules there. There we go. Yep, that's it. Okay, so now I've got this cool new profile that is saved, and I can, matter of fact, it's a profile I can import or export, give to other people, put on eBay, things like that, and I can go after a live drive, specifically a partition, or check the physical drive itself. That is crazy stuff. Now, I can capture memory, right? I can run in whatever administrative mode I need to get a big bin file and process it with other memory tools, or put, you know, throw in Detective and see what you can get out of that. Or I can even capture a disk image. I'll click this button and I can pick physical or partition level stuff, right? And my options are E01, as we would all come to expect, and a DD, a raw image like that. And I can compress it like I would probably used to, or split it up for different media storage sizes, verifying it if I want to. So KeyScout on a USB drive in your pocket That's crazy stuff, considering the things we can go get. Okay, let's see how this plays out when we actually collect data and see what our results look like so we know what we got to import into other tools. So if I come here, well, first recap, we got a live system option, which is, don't let Keith ever come over for a barbecue. And if I start throwing things down like, hey, can I just use your computer to check my mail? The answer is no. Get away from any of my technology because I've got an OTG in my pocket with KeyScout and several other tools in there that I can just go steal anything I want. So don't let me anywhere near anything if I ever come over. That's the live system route, right? Or an image. Hey, listen, we haven't really talked about this yet, but if you are in the lab and you've got a bunch of drives that have evidence files on them that are copies of your working stuff from the evidence locker, I mean, look, you can hook up KeyScout to a machine with an E01 in it and parse it for stuff. That's phenomenal, especially if you didn't know what you could do in KeyScout until you saw a video like this. You're like, whoa, I'm going to go, in all of my spare time, I'm going to go run it against all those evidence files I have sitting in storage. Or you can hook up to just a drive, right? Take a drive. Here, let's look here real quick. If I come down here and check our Windows Explorer on this machine, so this PC has the ecosystem, the live drive I'm in right now, right? The D drive, that BitLocker drive we saw earlier, the data drive, which is another partition E, and this OCE storage drive, which is hooked up with a SATA cable right now. So we have an external drive, we can run that option also. Because if I come in here and I pick live system, and you know what, we're going to take the default profile applications, system artifacts, passwords, and tokens by default paths. Let me just have a look really quickly. Let's go see what we're up against or what we're getting ourselves into. Search routes. I've got a specified list of places to look at a depth of 4. Excluded, here's a set of places to not look. I got no passwords in here right now. I have no file rules right now. From an application perspective, I've just selected everything as part of this default profile and all the system artifacts. And in memory, I've got nothing here, and that's fine. We're just going to take it as a default. So I'll cancel that. And then I'm going to come here to my device and partition selector. Right, so here's the one physical drive. It's got a couple partitions in it. Here's the other physical drive. And here's that attached drive from USB. So watch what happens if I do this. I just turned off the live drive that I booted into right now. And it says, hey, listen, this search type is currently set to live system. If you want to analyze an external drive, select drive, and then come back and do it again. So no problem. I'm going to turn back on the live drive and turn off this other drive that's in the system mounted right now and this USB SATA cable hooked up drive. And I want not the BitLocker one, not the GPT and the basic partition. I'm going to take the C drive, the ecosystem drive I'm booted into right now. And we're using the default profile that we just talked about, and I'll click go. Okay, so KeyScout goes out there, mounts the drive, and starts looking. And right away, so what comes up here? Oh, wow. So let me just scroll down a little bit. Encrypted data, we got DPAPI from Windows data, interesting. I've got Windows Logon Manager sessions, 8 of those. I got some AnyDesk, some BlueStacks. Just checking application and artifacts out there. It's encrypted data. Okay, I'm just going to let it run for a minute. Okay, so my search is done at this point. It's saving the data. Found data, selected for saving, 197.92. And my options are this: export data directly to Detective or save it to a disk. Let's have a look at what's in here first. So I'm just going to maximize. Okay, so the applications and artifacts section, checked 126 things out of 126 things. Passwords and tokens, 24 passwords and 1 token. Well, first let's go here, application and artifacts. So here's kind of a map of all the different things it found for the different applications. For instance, let's go look at Edge. So Microsoft Edge had this much junk in this location, and same thing with Firefox. What we got? Passwords, check. Tokens, oh cool, check. Think cloud extraction coming up here. Accounts, good. Bookmarks, cookies, web history, all these different artifacts. You can see which ones were discovered for which applications. Passwords and tokens, what do we got here? Oh, evil, no, good. User powers are good. So look at this. There's a bunch of username information, a bunch of locations and services, and a bunch of passwords from where they originate. That's scary stuff. We know keys to the kingdom are sitting there. Backups. Well, we found a Samsung Smart Switch backup. Interesting. And encrypted data. Let's see, the DPAPI stuff, Google, credential information, Edge, Telegram, Zoom. Some things were brute forced based on what was found, and some things were unable to be decrypted. So that's pretty interesting from a summary perspective. And I can see I've got AnyDesk and BlueStacks and Chrome, OneDrive, Teams, Notepad, Smart Switch Defender, Mail Center, and then encrypted information in here. So very cool. I'm just going to save this to disk, and I'll put it out on this data drive, and I'll just click. Matter of fact, I lied. I'm going to make a folder, and I'll call it HHH, and I'll select that, and I'll put our contents in there. And no, I do not have enough free space to save that 197 gig. That's okay. Let's go do another search, but this time we're going to point at that hooked up drive. So live search, no. New search, I'm going to pick a drive search this time, as it told us, right? And I will drop down and pick the F drive and select it. And I'm pretty sure I get the option to choose to kind of help us navigate what we're doing. It's a Windows drive. Terrific. I'll use the same old there and start that search. Okay, so this one finished, and nothing like the other one. However, this time, let's see, these are all system artifacts. So NTFS file system things, recycle bin data, but interesting, an iTunes backup, a 72 gig iTunes backup. Probably not going to have room for that either. So what I'm going to do is unselect this. I mean, look, time, space management, maybe when I'm stealing everything from your computer, I don't want your iTunes backup. I got what I needed, and I don't have time to wait or the space to put that thing. So I'm going to turn it off, then I'll come back and I'll save to disk. And I'm going to put it in that same folder I made before, HHHH, where I didn't have the room with that previous collection. So I'll select that, and off it goes, saving out the artifacts. And I want to do this just so we can see the resulting ODB data. Okay, so show extracted data in the folder. Let's go look. Okay, so here I've got the name of the drive, the user that did it, the date and the time, .odb, Oxygen desktop backup. There's a list file if it happens to contain several segments, Z01s, because I saved 72 gig of data or something, a log of what was obtained in this, and an ODR file. Okay, so here's what we would do. I would come back with, if I didn't open it directly in Detective, I'd come back to Detective and use this option. Hey, I want to import an Oxygen Forensic desktop backup. I'll click it. I'm going to navigate to that HHH folder. I'm looking for E drive, program files, Detective, or Oxygen Forensics, the RE folder, the KeyScout folder, and HHHH. And in there, I have the ODB list or the ODB to pick from. I'll just go ahead and pick the ODB file and open that. And it's like, okay, listen, fire up that ODB, import it, and off it goes just like anything else. And when it's done, I'll look at it. And it is a desktop extraction, Windows one indicated by the icon. 11,000 files, a bunch of system artifacts is what this boils down to. There really wasn't a bunch of data in that collection, and that's fine. We just want to see what it looked like to collect some data, navigate to the results, and import it in Detective. Okay, that's KeyScout in a nutshell, right? Live drive, evidence file, dead drive. Create an evidence file, E01 or a DD with it. Create custom profiles. Carry the thing around on an OTG so you're never without. And imagine the use case, you walk in the library, there's 100 machines in there, and you got to kind of triage to see which ones you're actually going to take with you. Maybe you run a KeyScout collection on each one of them for a specific profile of data. The ones that get the hits are the ones you take. Okay, grab some KeyScout when you can. Catch you later.